Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I've been out doing just a little bit of hunting today. Got one squirrel so far, and I thought what I would do while I'm out here hunting is sit down and actually kind of go through my shooting bag with you guys as far as what I carry for my H&R single shot 12 gauge. Stay with me and we'll get started. Okay, so I thought I would just kind of sit down here with you and go through my shell bag. Pretty simple video, but I have a lot of guys ask me at times, what do you carry in the woods when you hunt? Well, generally I carry a haversack and things like that, but I leave them generally at a base camp if I'm camping. And if I'm just out hiking for the day, I'll generally have just the things with me I absolutely need in my shooting bag. I'm not worried about drinking straight from the creeks and streams on the Pathfinder School property because I've done it a lot of times. So I don't carry a lot of water with me generally, if any at all, because I'll stop at a stream and get a drink if I want to, especially if I'm only out hunting for a couple of hours. But let's talk about the shooting bag or the shell bag, because I carry it and the contents in it don't change whether I'm out for 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks. The same things are going to be in this bag. And again, that's part of that kit layering that we've talked about, that layering mentality. The things that are in here are really for the maintenance of the gun and for the operation of the gun itself. But there's items in here that are multifunctional enough that they can be used in an emergency for survival items as well. So I always carry my single shot 12 gauge. That's a no-brainer. I've been talking about that for years and years. Most versatile gun on the planet, shoots the most variety of ammunition, can be hand-loaded, muzzle-loaded, you name it, the 12 gauge does it. Doesn't matter if it's an H&R, Stevens, an Ithaca, a Savage, Stevens Savage, doesn't really matter as long as you got a good single shot 12 gauge, and I prefer a modified choke. But H&Rs are always and have always been my preference. Now, this is a Duluth Shell Bag. And it has 2 pockets inside of it. It has one outer pocket and one inner pocket. The inner pocket, again, the KISS method. I like things simple. I have a canvas bag that has a variety of about 20 shells in it. And they're everything from slugs to 6 to 8, but the majority of them are 8-shot. And there's a couple of double-aught buck in here as well. So you've probably got a mixture of 4 slugs, 3 to 4 double-aught buck, 3 to 4 8-shot. Everything else in there is 6. 6 shots, the most versatile game load that I've found for the eastern woodlands. I generally have a few loose shells in the bottom of the bag where I can just reach in and grab them without fishing around, and they're almost always 6-shot. Unless it's gun season, then it would be slugs. I have a rag in the bottom, and it's just an extra rag. There's generally 2 rags in this bag, one in this pouch, one in the other pouch. But it gives me cotton material for wiping the gun down in the rain and things like that. It's got some oil to it already. It's the same rag I use for cleaning the gun anytime I clean it. So it's got some of that oil soaked into it. Now I use olive oil for all of my oil and maintenance in the field. And the reason I do that is because A, it's food grade. B, I'm not mixing it with another type of oil if I'm using a rag to wipe something down with and then go to something else. And B, I can always use this oil for cooking if I need to, and I can always use these rags for things and not have to worry about them being poisoned in any way if I decide to use them for some type of wound care, because olive oil is not going to hurt me. Now, obviously, the dirt and the grit off my gun may be a little bit dirtier, but in an emergency, you do what you have to do. You can also make char cloth with this stuff and use it for lots of other things. Empty shell casing that I just got done firing at the squirrel that we have up here. I never throw my shell casings on the ground. I always carry them out. High brass shells are prime candidates for reloading, so I always keep them no matter what. Sometimes the low brass I'll toss when I get back to the house. And then I have a Case Hunter folding knife in here with 2 blades. It's got a heavier blade on it, and it's got a smaller type blade on it, almost like a fillet blade, but not quite as flexible. Great for bird and fish, things like that. And then you've got the heavier blade for cutting and skinning and things like that. So I've always got that in there as well. Now, in the front compartment of this thing is pretty much maintenance items. I've got an AK-47 oil bottle in here, which contains olive oil. And I've had a lot of guys ask me about this bottle. What I did was I burned all the old oil out of here with just like a map gas torch with the blue can, not the yellow, the really hot stuff. I just burned it all out of there and got rid of it. And then I put olive oil in there. So how sanitized it really is, I don't know. I did it to where I was comfortable with it. You would have to do what you're comfortable with. But I have cooked with this oil out of this bottle, and I'm still here to talk about it. But it's also really good for oiling my weapon, my rifle, my shotgun, or maintaining my other tools that need to be oiled. The good thing about a can like this is I can take this off of here, going back to that multifunctionality thing, stick a wick down in here of that cotton material that I'm carrying and light it, and I have an emergency lighting source or lamp as well if I need it. But I also have the oil for cooking or maintenance of equipment. I've got a cigarette lighter in there. Always have a cigarette lighter. In every bag I layer a cigarette lighter in there just to have as an emergency fire starting resource. I have another rag in here that's a little more oil soaked than the one that's inside the main compartment. This is my main cleaning rag. I have a ball of quadruple aught steel wool just to get any surface rust off of things if I let them go too long. And I also use this down the barrel as well when I'm cleaning the gun in the field. We'll talk about that more in just a second. Because what I generally use for that is I've got a small piece of metal stock here. I think it's 1/4 inch, and it's just a piece of cold rolled steel. And I've beveled it, indented in the middle of it, and drilled a hole in it, rounded the edges off of it so there's no harsh corners on it. And this is basically my bore snake. I drop this heavy end down the bore with the shotgun open, and I can attach anything to the other end of this rope, whether it's a cleaning rag, a piece of steel wool, or whatever I need to use to pull it through that barrel to clean the barrel of that gun of any fouling. I'm not afraid to dump my gun right in the water to clean it. I've done it many, many times. Pour hot water down the barrel. None of that matters to me because I can always dry it off and I can always re-oil it. I think we get too overzealous and too over careful with things. But H&Rs and single shot 12 gauges in general are so heavy duty and bomb proof that you're not going to destroy them by doing that to them as long as you take care to dry them and oil them after the fact. I don't put the wood furniture in the water, just the barrel for the most part. And then I wipe out the inside of the trigger housing and things like that. I have a large magnifying glass in here. Again, this is just a secondary or tertiary fire starting resource, but it also gives me something because I wear glasses. If I were to lose my glasses, it gives me a backup to those glasses as well for inspection. So I keep that in there. I have this is just an antique Phillips screwdriver that's made out of a piece of round stock that I found at an antique mall or a sale or something, yard sale, I can't remember. But it gives me that screwdriver that I need if I'm not carrying my SAK to be able to disassemble my H&R. And then I have a sleeve in here that has a short lane arms, 22 caliber adapter, and a box of 50 22 CCIs, mainly for trap line use. I always carry my 12 gauge even when I'm on the trap line the majority of the time. And if I get the opportunity to take other game while I'm on the trap line, I can use my 12 gauge. If I'm putting an animal down in a trap, I can put the 22 inch or the 22 8-inch rifle adapter in the gun and take animals down that are in the trap. So I carry those two items as well. And that's pretty much it. So it's a really, really simple kit. It doesn't have a lot of components in it. It does have a lot of functionality as far as fire starting goes. And to me, that's one of the most important things when it comes to any kind of a kit that I'm putting together, and no matter really what that kit is for, it's always going to have fire starting elements within that kit for the simple reason that fire will save your life faster than about anything, especially in hunting season when the weather's going to be cold already. Assuming that you're dressed for the conditions that you're hunting in, the best thing that you can do is be able to start fire. So I try to layer my fire starting kit into every bag, every pocket, every belt pouch, every backpack that I have so that I have multiple ways of starting fire no matter what the scenario. And in this case, I have the lighter and the magnifying glass, both in this bag. And then I also have that extension capability of the flame because I have those oily rags that I can rip into a shred and burn them in a stubborn tinder bundle with a lighter, or I can light a lantern and use that lamp while it's burning to dry out tinder sources and get them on fire. Lots of versatility there. But I wanted to go through this simple kit today. This is what I carry the majority of the time if I'm hunting with my 12 gauge. This bag is on me. Whether I'm away from camp or whether I'm just out for a couple hours hunting in the woods, this is the bag that I would take. Well guys, I appreciate you joining me today for this video. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks guys.